Greetings. All right, so for today's live reading, I am going to drop back in on chapter 4, starting at the bottom of page 57. And I didn't actually do my hair or my makeup today, so like, so as a it's kind of a theme here. It's really about showing up, and there's that I'm not really considering making natural like video about this, but the importance of showing up as like we are for not only for others but for ourselves is really central to what Party On Method is all about. And before I read about this, I'm just going to talk a little bit about something that's been very top of mind for me with this practice and with in response to kind of like the popular zeitgeist, I guess, so to speak, which is like I really like TikTok a lot. I like watching TikTok, and I see like the kind of like the kids, young adults really coming up in the world right now, and the focus on like positive thinking and manifestation. And as somebody who was a really active practitioner in that when I was younger, and still trying to figure out if like the outcomes in my life to what extent they were influenced by that. Because they have been positive, I did generate wealth and um, was able to create what I aspired to. I think the thing is though, is like all I knew to want was all I knew what to want. And so Party Now Method is about a continuation, even an evolution of not necessarily an attachment to positive feelings, but this very different relationship with negative feelings. And that, it's like, yes, it's nice to wake up and express gratitude. Yeah. And to really foster positive feelings. But the reality is that negative feelings are just an inevitable part of life. Bad things happen, and we get sick, we lose people, we lose things, we lose security, we lose conditions, circumstances. We can be involved in unfavorable dynamics, victims of, all manner of like acute levels of trauma. And the thing is like the idea that positive thinking in and of itself is an exit plan for us or a survival um, plan is actually really like more in alignment with like dissociation. So what I want to talk about just briefly before I dip into a quick reading here is about the relationship that we have that's kind and patient with our anger, with our frustration, with our fear, um, and that the importance really of shifting the idea that it's something that we run away from and considering it, like I was just thinking about this, where it's like considering our sadness or our fear or just like maybe a bunch of bad things happen all at once and it's kind of a lot to handle. And instead of it being something that we kind of try to intellectually like adult ourselves out of, is being able to patiently be with ourselves and understand that these things scare us and understand that these things hurt us and to give ourselves that time. And in the book, the emotional hygiene practice is really tuned towards this, which is to take the time every day, if possible, to clear out the feelings from the previous day. But if that's not really in the cards for you, if that's not where you're at just yet, it is having a practice that's accessible and available to you, or you can either open up a journal, open up a Word document, and just really talk to yourself and like actually when you reverse, listen to yourself. And like so asking the questions about how you feel right now and listening instead of trying to correct or negate or even in a sense comfort. Even trying to like calm, comfort, do things to like kind of tune down their harsh emotions is to allow them to be heard in the first place. And, I'm thinking about it like, when do you need to be heard the most? And how hard that is to talk to somebody when you're in pain or when you're struggling, and all that they offer you are solutions when you're still in it. And part of like the feeling is like, and having it is like part of the process. So a lot more can be said on that, but and I think there's a chance that I'll make a longer form video with some practices and talk a bit more about this. Certainly in the future, it's a huge part of the book, especially as it relates to physical pain, like the TMS, the Dr. John Sarno methodology, and just, I guess like the one message I would have right now is that it's like, if you are going through any kind of tough time, and it's like to give it to yourself, to allow yourself to be having a hard time, and of course there's room for like looking and saying, oh, there's a butterfly and a nice moment, and I have all these things to be grateful for. At the same time, giving yourself like that attention. Like if you had like a scared child who's never experienced something before, that, like just that sense of knowing that really what would matter to them is having somebody listen to them and validate how they're feeling, and allow that to rise before it's comforted. Allow the expression of the sadness or the fear to just like allow itself to be seen and understood, and then doing the work to process it. So anyway, that's really top of mind. I just took 7 minutes to talk about it, like right off the chest. So I'm just going to do a quick little reading out of the book because I feel really proud to be, page 57, and it feels like it's possible to get through this book this year, because starting in April, I'm going to have more time, and so I'm going to be probably doing hopefully more of these, so make some faster reasons. So anyhow, so initial development here for the first hub in the fourth chapter is that life begins in a warm, comfy place where needs are effortlessly met. It's a definitive experience of excellent anticipatory service. In the womb, before we can even want something, it's provided. As adults, there are times we seek unconsciously to return to this comfort when we feel vulnerable, sick, or sad. In the womb, we're merged as one with our environment, touched and held from all directions. We're unified with our mother's diet, health, and emotional state. When we're born, we are pushed into a world and experience cold, light, and hunger for the first time. Sound is louder, and when placed in our mother's arms, we return to the familiar sound of her heartbeat and the comfort of her warmth. We have just arrived. We have just survived the most extraordinary transition of life, being born. When we look at our baby pictures, there's usually a combination of awe and estrangement. How could that be me, combined with charm, the sense of recognition? How our Hub developed began with what the newborn experienced and carries patterns and programming into adulthood. For example, self-sabotaging behaviors partially arise from early disturbance in the development of our sense of safety and trust in this first hub. In our first months of life, getting our needs met was beyond our control, and the only way to communicate hunger and discomfort was through crying. Out in the world, there are periods of hunger, cold, and discomfort, sometimes even pain. Our experience during this transition taught us whether the world is a safe, kind place or a hostile, withholding one, or somewhere in between. Psychologist Erik Erikson called this early developmental stage trust versus mistrust, referring to whether the infant establishes a clear sense that it can trust its caregivers and environment. The infant experiences mother and the surrounding environment as merged with itself, and has only dawned only a dawning sense of its physical boundary. So trust or mistrust is internalized in its sense of trust within itself. According to Erickson, that successful resolution in this stage leads to a sense of hope carried forward into the following stages of development in adulthood. Author Anna J. Judith writes, without trust, your survival feels constantly threatened. And because there is nothing you can do to meet the threat, the anxiety is unbearable. See chapter 2. Table 4.2 lists other psychological developmental theories that correspond to the early period of life. So, yeah, I think this one, one of the things with a topic like this is that I really look forward to doing more interactive work with this, like book clubs and even discussion groups and community forums. Because as I'm reading this, there's just so much to discuss in this. And in writing the book, there was so much material that just didn't make it in. And even it's kind of interesting that, reading this and knowing that the pacing of reading this thing as a reader is that you get 1 or 2 pages in, about how that connection with Einstein's initial quote that opens the chapter about really determining whether the world is, is it a friendly place or not? Just how deeply attuned into what our lived experiences, that our birth and like our very early embodied experience, how that is embedded into in so many deep ways into just our everyday sense of what reality actually is. And this is a thing where it's like, when you have people that don't have the anxiety and feel perfectly safe in a way that feel like irrational to a person who has not had their development come up in conditions that support that. So, I'll read through this. This is table 4.2 on page 58. And I think it's probably going to be it for me today. I think we're kind of pretty far along the time that I tried at the beginning. But so the developmental theorist is Erik Erikson. The age and stage is trust versus mistrust, which is birth to 18 months. And the purpose of the stage is care the infant receives is consistent, predictable, and reliable. In this case, it will develop a sense of trust that it will carry with it into other relationships, and it'll be able to feel secure even when threatened. Maslow, the physiological needs: food, water, warmth, rest. Freud, oral, birth to 18 months. Chewing and sucking produce comfort. Some overlap with second hub development. And Piaget is sensory motor, which is birth to 2 years. And that's the infant is discovering the relationship between his body and the environment using senses. Some overlap with second hub development. So, let's see. Yeah. I'm gonna read this actually. So parents, family, and caregivers are responsible for meeting all our needs in the early development of the first hub. We're born with a suite of survival reflexes that include turning towards touch, grasping, and sucking when the mouth is stimulated, all originating from the inside. We're born ready to receive. There's no beam me up Scotty option. We can't return to the mothership and try again. This is our life, and we need to make it work or otherwise perish. And surviving may require adapting in ways that affect the development and expression of hope. We're born to survive, and we find ways to make the most of our circumstances. It is often a safer adaptation to believe our own shortcomings affect our security than it is to comprehend the terrifying notion that our caregivers are incapable. Perhaps it's less overwhelming to think that our survival is within our control, rather than tethered to an out-of-control environment. Anna Judith writes, a smooth first year of life creates a solid foundation that can better withstand and recover from difficulties later on. This speaks to resilience. the secure birth cup creates. If our caregivers didn't meet our early needs, we found ourselves in the impossible position of relying on ourselves, which we're developmentally incapable of doing effectively. Although our time in the womb, birth, and first year of life are not part of a conscious memory, those early experiences will implant a sense of security or insecurity in our bodies that we carry into childhood and adulthood. The interruptions, traumas, and even abuses from this stage are not simply a matter of intellectual processing. Although cognitively understanding this helps, of course, the restoration of trust and feeling safe in our bodies, restoration and reclaiming involve the physicality of our bodies. Maslow's hierarchy, see chapter 1, emphasizes that at the foundation of our psyche is the need for consistency and predictability of these needs. As adults, we may find ourselves either rigid and fixated on routines, or we may be unable to create and replicate them. A routine helps create embodied security. If it's too rigid, disruptions result in destabilization. The opposite adaptation is the tendency towards chaos and disorder, which becomes so familiar that it's soothing, even though it drains our energy and often leads to adverse outcomes. In the techniques and exercises, I emphasize the body-based approach and address first hug behavior tendencies as holding patterns in the body. Through this combination of awareness and gentle shifting, we can support and minimize the impact of early interruptions. See chapter 2. Okay, so yeah, I think that one of the things that is, really kind of full circle here for, I was talking about at the top of this is that, there are certain things about the development of our hubs that it's like we can really work on expanding our tolerance and our capacity in a given hub. But there's also something really important about accepting our limitations, which are individual. And once we can accept them and understand them, this is where the role for patience and this really profound, loving relationship with ourselves has a chance to express itself. Because, I think that we live in a culture where there's a really strong desire to optimize and perfect, and that for each of our hubs that we could actually expand them to the point that they're like superhuman. And while expanding our capacity is certainly part of what we become capable of with Pariyamaa, there's a deeper transformation that's possible in the relationship that we have with ourselves, with the patience, and with the kindness that we can demonstrate for ourselves with what a hub really means. And so, yeah, I don't know if I have much more to say about that today, but thank you for joining. If you watched this one, I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to dedicate a lot more time and focused attention here with you. And I have a number of projects in the works that I'm looking forward to sharing with you in the coming months. I'm beginning in probably toward mid-April and definitely in May. So thank you and sending you so much love. If this has been, if you want to encourage me to keep going, please subscribe, comments are my love language. Rachel, Mira, thank you. It means so much to me to feel like this is a two-way street and that you're hearing this and that you have responses to it. And anything you have to say is, I really welcome the opportunity to hear from you. So anyway, I can't wait to see you next time. Okay.